Hey everyone, how's it going? So what am I working on now? Got a customer that dropped off a 2011 Chrysler Town & Country. Basically the same thing as a Dodge Caravan. And the customer's complaint is they have an oil leak and they're wondering if it's possibly from the transmission. They said every once in a while they feel the transmission not shifting correctly. This thing's got 145,000 miles on it. Now, what I've noticed in the past, when people seem to think they have a problem, like they find an oil leak, let's say, on this vehicle, and they, for some reason, think that it may be transmission fluid, now all of a sudden they'll start to think that they have a transmission shifting issue. Like they'll pay close attention to it and they'll feel every little thing that may be slightly off or whatever. But meanwhile, everything's acting normal. It's just they perceive it as being a problem. I've seen that many times. Not saying that there may not be an issue, but let's just see. I haven't looked yet. I just popped the hood, actually. I just got it in the shop. This is a 3.6 liter. 3.6s are notorious for the oil cooler, basically the oil filter housing. It's notorious for them leaking. I'd be willing to bet it's probably leaking. I'd be willing to bet that's probably what they are perceiving as a transmission fluid leak. Because what happens is it fills up the valley. It's a V motor, so you have a valley, and the oil filter housing sits inside that V. And what happens is it leaks, it fills up the valley, and then it overflows. And where does it overflow? Right on top of the transmission. So it leaks on top of the bell housing. So if you're wet on top of the bell housing, that's where your leak is coming from. And a lot of people have misinterpreted that leak as a rear main seal. And they'll say, oh, you need a rear main seal. No, you don't need a rear main seal. You need to clean it and replace the oil cooler. That's normally what it is. These motors are not engines. These engines are not really known for rear main seal leaks. Their biggest Achilles heel is that oil cooler. Seen plenty of those things go bad. And usually when they go bad, many times when they go bad early, meaning prior to 100,000 miles, usually it's because of the person that changed the oil last over torqued the cap where the oil filter sits. Those oil filter caps have a seal on the side, and as you're screwing them down, the seal makes contact, and the seal is actually creating the seal, and then once it bottoms out, you stop. You don't go any tighter. That's it. Leave them alone. They're not going to back up. But I've seen people put them on and then put, a half-inch breaker bar on it, and then and they tighten it, and that's not good. You distort everything. It's just plastic. It basically, as soon as it stops, stop. You're done. You don't have to go any tighter. It will not back up. I've never, ever, ever seen one back off. Never. So, just something to keep in mind. The new ones that they make, or I shouldn't say the new ones that Chrysler makes, but the reproduction ones through Dorman and a few other companies, you can actually get them in aluminum, which if I was to have one, I would do one in aluminum. So, but it's neither here nor there. Let's actually look under the hood and let's see what we actually have, because I'm not quite sure. Most of these have a beauty cover on them too that you have to take off. I don't know if the beauty cover is still there. And yes, it is. Just had to get the hood prop set. These beauty covers, you just pull up on them and they come right off. Okay, so the oil filter housing sits right there, and that valley has a tendency to fill with oil. Kind of hard to see, but what you do is you come to this side and you look down the back, and you can see how well that wiring in the V of the motor is all wet? And you can see how everything there is all wet. So you can see it ran down on top of the tranny. That's all engine oil. So I am pretty darn convinced this is just an engine oil leak. So I'm going to put it up in the air. I want to see what we got from underneath, and then we're going to go from there. So just from pulling it in the shop, it's pretty obvious it's an engine oil leak. So just on the floor, that's engine oil. It's not transmission fluid. But yeah, so somebody would look underneath here and see, here's the engine, here's the transmission. They would obviously think it's transmission fluid, but it's not. It's engine oil. Because like I said, that cooler lets go, and then it creates that problem. So even if this thing has a transmission shifting problem, we're going to have to fix the cooler first, because we won't test drive it, not like this. So what I will do is I will scan it for codes first. Just let's see if there's any codes in it. and then let's go from there. But I got a funny feeling we're just going to have to do the cooler first. I bet you that's going to be the whole problem. I really doubt he's got a transmission problem, but you never know. Let me scan it for codes first and we'll see. So real quick, all I did was I took the engine oil dipstick and I stuck the transmission just to see what the fluid looks like. I wasn't concerned with checking level at this point. And the fluid itself, it's a little dark, but it doesn't have a stink to it. You know, it's not nasty by any stretch of the imagination. It's dirty, but the fact that it's up to this point, when I start it up, it'll probably run down to about there, which would probably be fine. So, but I'm not, like I said, that's not my concern right now. I was just looking to see what it looked like and take a whiff of it. And it doesn't smell like it's cooked. It smells like it's used, so I'm not all that concerned about it. So, and like I've said in the past, this is the engine oil dipstick, and it does have transmission fluid on it. And we're going to stick it right back into the engine, and we're going to leave it there. So, engine oil, you do not want to get engine oil in the transmission, but you can get some transmission fluid in the engine. It's not going to hurt nothing. It's actually not bad for the engine, actually. So, let's just put that cap back on. Little cappy thing there, and grab my scanner, and then let's scan this thing, see if there's any codes in the system. Alright guys, so I'm going to hook the scanner up, the K10, to this, and I just made a video, sorry about the chime, I just made a video in regards to updating the K10 for the Mazda, so you're going to see a separate video for that. Alright, so I'm hooked up, I'm doing the scan. As you see the dongle down there, it changes colors as it communicates, or it flashes. See that? Flashing, that's telling you that it's communicating. Okay, so we're going to pick Chrysler, then diagnose. Okay. Okay. And then smart scan. PCM has 2 codes. You notice it doesn't have a TCM. Why doesn't this have a tranny controller? Because the tranny controller is part of the PCM. It's not a separate transmission controller. All right. So we're going to make the report. Okay. Like I said, I attach reports to every car that comes through the door. I'm going to hit save. And the reason being is because this way somebody can't come back later on and say, I never had this code before. Well, yeah, you did. You know, because it could be a code in, you know, the body control module. It could be a code in the cabin compartment node, the wireless control module, the tire pressure monitoring system, the radio, the door module left front, door module right front. You know what I mean? It could be anything. So I just rather have this to say, yo, yeah, we already had that. So I'm going to hit share, email. I'm going to send it to myself. Hello. There we go. Sometimes it's a little picky if my fingers aren't warm enough. All right, so I'm really curious, though, about what's the codes in the PCM. Let's see. Oil pressure control circuit stuck off. P06DD. That may not have, it may and it may not have anything to do with the oil filter housing. P06DD, if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since I worked on one of these with that code, but I believe it's the oil pump. However, if you have the wrong oil filter, or if the oil filter housing is allowing drain back, which it can be because it's leaking, I believe it can create that code. But if you've already addressed all of those things and you still have that code, I believe it's the oil pump itself, if I'm not mistaken. So, anyway, let me go look this up real quick, and we're going to go from there and give the customer an estimate. But unfortunately, this is probably going to wrap this up. But let me look up that code first, and then we'll end this. Okay, so I just did some research on the code, and that P06DD, yes, it can be the oil pump itself, on which I thought, because I've had to do that before. However, the oil cooler is a huge contributing factor to it. So the oil cooler and the oil pressure switch, which is actually mounted to the cooler. So I got a funny feeling because it's leaking, it's also allowing it to bleed down and bleed air into the system when the vehicle's just sitting. So that's probably the reason for the code. We have to go there first, we have to fix that first, but I got a funny feeling that's going to straighten the whole thing out. So unfortunately, that's going to end this video here. But at least I could explain it to you, so maybe now you know. If you look down in the description, you'll see links to Amazon products that I strongly recommend. It's stuff that I use personally, so it's not even like I'm just, putting somebody's stuff out there. It's stuff that I use personally, so if you can give it a click, just a click, that's all I'm asking. That's great. It shows I get traffic. If you buy something, even better, I get a very small percentage out of it. I'll get like 1 to 2% depending on what it is. But every little bit helps. So if you could, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thumbs up. Anyway, if you could hit that like button, if you can hit the notification button, if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. If you want to share my videos, go right ahead. All right, guys. Have a great day. Keep wrenching.